Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. I do not duck any issue. Come at me. I do not care. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of the DC Multiverse Daily, and you must say one thing for Ray Fisher: he is tenacious, and that's probably the only compliment I'm going to pay him. I'm going to be extremely honest with you, but first we are going to read what he posted on Twitter. Very, very interesting. Then he exposes another private conversation between him and Walter Hamada. There's a Screen Rant article that I'm going to read out to you. That's just for starters today. I'm going to read this stuff out, then give you my big opinion, because it is. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is damaging the DC IP. Yes, that's bad for Warner Brothers Pictures, but do you know who it really damages? Us, the fans. So let's go. Unfortunately, the fake Frosty news with Jason wasn't the only PR tactic used to distract from seriousness of the JL situation. Ben returning as Batman was clearly meant to be revealed at DC Fandom. I'll give you one guess as to why Warner Brothers Pictures likely jumped the gun. This is a tweet he made several weeks ago, or a social media post, because he posts on Instagram and Twitter. After 5 weeks interviews with various cast crew, Warner Media has officially launched an independent third-party investigation to get to the heart of the toxic and abusive work environment created during Justice League reshoots. This is a massive step forward. He then circles the date, 1:38 p.m. of 20th of August of this year. He then pinpoints something else about the timing and date of the news of Ben Affleck being in Andres Macheti's Flashpoint movie. Ben Affleck will return as Batman in The Flash, August the 20th, 2020 at 3:02 p.m. Now let's look at the timestamp of the other one. Now this is just under 2 hours after Ray announced that the third-party investigation from Warner Media was being launched. So again, Ray is tenacious, very tenacious, and he has exposed something in what they're doing. That's a fact. But what damage does this actually do if we're being honest? Think about it. Yes, they're trying to deflect. What he's trying to say is that the whole point is that probably they were initially going to launch this information about Batfleck at DC Fandom, but they got nervous by his tweet, so they tried to deflect the attention. Now, I'm not sure if he posts anything else, but yes, he doesn't. He doesn't post anything else. But the point is, he's trying to prove that they're trying to deflect attention away from what he's trying to do. I agree. I think he is, and I understand why they're doing it. So there's that. Now, if you remember rightly, I was very cross with Ray. We were exposing a private conversation a few weeks back between him and Walter Hamada. He's done it again, and here's a Screen Rant article from Anna Damaradog. I think that's how you say her name anyway. Justice League star reveals DC Films head's criticism of Joss Whedon. Ray Fisher reveals details about how DC Films president Walter Hamada threw Joss Whedon under the bus amidst allegations of Justice League set abuse. Ray Fisher reveals specific details about how DC Films head Walter Hamada supposedly criticised Joss Whedon amidst the ongoing controversy about the toxic working environment on the set of Justice League. Warner Brothers launched an investigation following Fisher's claims about Whedon since speaking out. The actor has been getting support from fans as well as people from the industry. Jason Momoa is among those who were also allegedly subjected to mistreatment. The latest update on the matter comes from Fisher, who shares new information about a conversation with Hamada. For context, Fisher previously divulged Hamada reached out to him to discuss his allegation against Whedon and how DC executives John Berg and Jeff Johns enabled his abusive behaviour on the set of Justice League. He claimed the DC Films boss supposedly tried to cover up the whole issue by throwing Whedon and Berg under the bus. As a compromise, he let he'd let Johns off the hook, Warner Brothers responded by sternly denying Fisher's claims, adding the actor had not ordered any evidence to support his story. Now, Fisher is coming out once again to reveal finer details about his conversation with Hamada. He's exposing another private conversation, by the way. I don't agree with this. Talking to his Instagram, Fisher posted a 23-minute long video offering fans an update on Warner Brothers' ongoing Justice League investigation before discussing that, however, he revealed specific details about his conversation with Hamada and the executive's criticisms of Whedon. Fisher made it clear he's confident in his story, even daring DC Films executive to sue him if he's lying. No one's going to sue you. Walter Hamada's not that type of man anyway. And you know that Walter Hamada's a good man. And bringing him into this is absolutely disgusting, Ray. Now, the fans can come in on me and say this and that and the other. I'm a Ray Fisher fan. I love Ray Fisher. I love Zack Snyder. But this crosses the line again. Let's read what he had to say. Walter Hamada did throw Joss Whedon and John Berg under the bus, a conversation wherein he did claim that Joss Whedon was an arsehole, that he never planned on hiring, and that did not fit his vision for the future of DC Films. Quote me on that. If it's not true, Walter, go ahead and sue me on that. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic. Initially, Fisher wasn't able to get into the details regarding his complaints against Whedon, Berg and Johns, explaining he's still under an NDA. This has kept him from sharing information that would have made his case more compelling to the public. However, it seems as though something has changed recently for the actor, considering that he's since revealed. It's worth noting Warner Brothers sternly denied Fisher's original narrative, saying in a statement Hamada didn't throw anyone under the bus and going to plant their version of how the conversation went down, with Fisher straight up contradicting that story so confidently. It will be interesting to see what Warner Brothers' next step will be. Fisher getting support from someone as popular as Momoa will only help his cause in demanding accountability from Warner Brothers regarding the allegedly problematic Justice League reshoot set. No other core cast member from the movie has spoken out at this time. However, as Fisher becomes more emboldened in revealing details to prove his claim, there's a chance other actors could be compelled to also speak up. In the meantime, fans will have to wait for the next development regarding this matter. So stay tuned for the next exciting episode of Ray Fisher versus Warner Brothers Pictures. Let's talk about this. What have you actually exposed Walter Hamada saying, Ray? He said Joss Whedon's an arsehole. Joss Whedon is an arsehole. There's no surprise there. So basically you're saying he wanted to throw Joss Whedon and Berg under the bus, but they're actually the problem. They were actually the problem, Ray. It was Joss Whedon who was causing you problems. It was Joss Whedon being abusive to you and the rest of the cast and the crew, right? So why do you keep on trying to bring Walter Hamada into it? It is disgusting. I believe you, Ray. I know what happened and I believe what happened. People have come to me and told me certain things and I know things. I know what happened on that set. A few of us do. I know exactly what happened on the set. It's disgusting. And it's the same thing that happens on every fucking set. And it's intolerable and it shouldn't be stood for. What you're doing is right and proper. But exposing these private conversations by an innocent man. He did not employ Joss Whedon. He never wanted Joss Whedon there. That's why Joss Whedon was booted out from the Batgirl movie as soon as he came in, right? He knew what he'd been up to and he got rid of him, right? So again, Ray, I ask you, what have you actually exposed here? Apart from someone telling you something we already know, that Joss Whedon is an arsehole. Great. Well done, Ray. Well done for exposing a private conversation. This is nothing. Now, I know what you want to do, Ray. You want to keep on chatting every day. You want to keep this in the limelight. And you want to put something big and controversial every day. But, yeah, what you exposed about the timestamps and dates, about how you stated about the Warner Media third-party investigation, and then Warner Brothers Pictures released the news of Batfleck being in Flashpoint. That's good. That's clever. It works for me. Well done. But again, so what? This is what companies do. Again, there's no law against this. Is it a little bit unethical? Of course it is. Again, what have you actually proved here? Not very much, let's be honest. Now, in terms of, again, I'll reiterate what I said before. Walter Hamada saying that Whedon's an arsehole, something we already know, again, isn't a smoking gun. And all you've done, again, is expose the private conversation. The point here is, Ray, it's about trust. Who's going to trust you again? Who in this industry is going to trust you again? And I know you've said you don't care if you've got a career or not. But we have to talk about this because although I stand with Ray Fisher in several issues, and I know what he's attempting to do, he's trying to root out Jeff Johns by trying to root out these other situations. Jeff Johns is still there, Ray. It doesn't seem like you've got much information to give to the public because the information that you're giving, I mean, the Frosty the Snowman thing wasn't exactly released officially by the company, was it? Was it? It was from a media outlet. You see, this is what protects them. They're smart, right? Now, all you're showing us is that Warner Brothers Pictures is shady. And it is shady. But we know they're shady. We know every single studio and big company is shady. But at the end of the day, we have to talk about what this is doing to the DC IP. In a year where we got DC fandom, in a year where it's announced we're getting a Flashpoint movie with every single Justice League member in it, which will rewrite the DC Extended Universe. Really exciting. Not forgetting everything, but resetting it. Really exciting. We are going to see a platform with different pockets of worlds. Snyder's world, and other people's worlds, and Andrew Machetti's world, and James Wan's worlds. The worlds of DC. In fact, we're going back to what Warner Brothers were planning and Walter Hamada, when after Justice League had happened, that calamity, and they were trying to fix that situation. The worlds of DC was always the plan to fix what happened in Justice League. And it proves that now they haven't changed that plan. And by changing that, by doing the worlds of DC, the multiverse strategy, they are allowing Zack Snyder to come in. He's just not the central point of the DC Extended Universe anymore. But as long as we can see his visions, his continuing visions and platforms for DC, I'm okay with that. So we're getting all this, Ray. But still, and I say you're tenacious. Well done, you're tenacious. But in the end, what you are doing, you are causing a bigger problem to the IP than you are to the company. Now, you think by damaging the IP, you're damaging the company. But who you're really damaging is the fans who buy the comics, who watch the films, who love you as Cyborg. You're hurting those fans. And some of those fans may not understand that you're hurting them. But ultimately, this damages everything that Walter Hamada and Jim Lee have already achieved. Allowing the Snyder Cut to stream on HBO Max, probably the biggest streaming, potentially the biggest streaming event of all time. At the end of the day, we all have to think about this. What is being achieved here? I hear people mocking Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins, mocking Wonder Woman 84 TV spots, right? And I'm not just talking about one individual person. I'm talking about many fans who back Ray Fisher, talking about, shelving Wonder Woman 84. Fuck you. No way. No freaking way. What? Because Jeff Johns co-wrote it? You're willing to burn something down that I'm looking forward to watch, something that I've seen a test screening for, right? Because you don't like Jeff Johns. You understand the situation. You understand that Jeff Johns is impregnable and he's not leaving this company. You understand that, don't you? The worst that can happen to him is a suspension and maybe a public apology. And I hope that happens. I really do. And I said this yesterday. It really is time for Warner Media to step in and say, right, fuck these investigations. Let's get Johns. And maybe if Whedon is still working for one of their subsidiaries, force him to make a statement. Make Berg make a statement of apology so we can get through this. Because one thing's for sure, Ray Fisher isn't giving up. But the point is, Ray Fisher's exposures are private conversations between him and a man who didn't do this. He didn't bring Joss Whedon into the company. From Ray's own admission, he doesn't even like Joss Whedon. And he booted him out as soon as he got there, right? So Walter Hamada, unlike what some of you people are saying, is not part of the problem. He's part of the solution. He is trying to fix this fucking mess that was done by Warner Brothers Pictures, the old regime, by bringing Christopher Nolan in to mould the DCEU, something that Christopher Nolan didn't want. So he passed the buck to poor Zack Snyder, right? Everybody knew at Warner Brothers Pictures, everybody, right, that Zack Snyder is like Marmite. You either like him or hate him. They're not the parameters to bring someone in and allow them to have a whole universe. Now, that's fine. Now, personally, if I heard the news that Zack Snyder was running the entire platform again, I'd be happy. I love his vision of the DCEU, but that's not the point. Everybody knew that the mainstream audience weren't going to be happy about what he was going to do. They knew that. So why did Warner Brothers Pictures allow it, right? Why? Why bring in Christopher Nolan, who doesn't want a bar of this? He passes the buck. He goes, right, I'll launch Man of Steel. I'll co-write the story. I'll work with David Goyer, right? And then I'm gone. That's it. I'm gone. Right? So then Zack Snyder and basically Christopher Nolan just walks away and leaves Jeff Johns and Zack Snyder to duke it out. And it becomes an utter fucking mess. This is a mess. This is not how you run things. And surprise, surprise, we got from Zack Snyder doing things one way and then Jeff Johns trying to put the kibosh in. It was a civil war that ended badly for Zack Snyder, but ultimately Zack Snyder won because he's back again. Zack Snyder is back. So whatever was done, but it's been resolved. It's been resolved because Zack is back and we're getting this film behind me, right? Which is what the aim was. Now, I know what Ray is attempting to do. As I said before, he saw what the Snyder fandom did by getting the Snyder Cut, and he feels, well, if I've got these people on my side, I can do this again. Well, here's the problem. You've got certain elements of the Snyder fandom on your side, but not all of them. Because a lot of the people in this fandom are thinking, I'm getting the Snyder Cut. Zack's back. I'm getting this tremendous universe full of different pockets of different, tones and visions. Why do I care what Ray Fisher and everybody else went through? I'm just telling you how people feel, because this is what people say to me in confidence. Many people don't give a shit. We are in a year where there's a mass pandemic making people ill. People's freedom's been taken away from them. Do you really think people give a shit about what Ray Fisher and Jason Momoa and the cast and crew of the Justice League reshoots went through? Some people do, I admit it. I care. But because I'm getting everything back that I wanted, I don't care. I don't care. So it comes to this. Because we as fans, DC belongs to us, the fans, because we pay for it. It's ours, right? It doesn't belong to Ray Fisher. It doesn't belong to Walter Hamada or Jim Lee or anybody else. It belongs to us. It doesn't even belong to Warner Media. It does financially, but morally, DC belongs to us, the fans. And what Ray's doing, he's damaging the IP for us. Now, Ray's trying to clean up things. But is it? Or does he want more? How far will Ray go? I've got this, I want this now. This one. Oh, the road sweeper likes Jeff Johns. Get rid of him as well. How far are we going to go here? Because I can assure you, Ray will never be satisfied, right? And this is the problem. This is the big problem. So, we have a situation here that's not going away, which is damaging the IP for the fans after such an exciting year, where finally Warner Media have come in and cleaned up the DC live-action universe and have come up with a strategy that can work. A beautiful strategy, right? A rebirth strategy that doesn't actually forget anything, which has brought Zack Snyder, which is back, which is, after all, what we wanted, right? It's up to you, people. But for me, the only solution for this is for Warner Media to act now and do what I've said all along. Suspend Jeff Johns, make him post an apology so we can move on. And you know what, Ray? If that's not enough for you, F you. Sorry, F you. Because I love DC films. And I don't want anyone to ruin them. And if you think I'm alone, people who are going to destroy me in the comments below on the live chat, if you think I'm alone, there's many people who think this way, are just too scared to say it. We are movie fans. We love storytelling. We're not here to fight for actors and crews. That's not our fucking job. These people are fucking rich. These people are fucking famous. They don't give a shit about you. You're just being used because you're the public and you can get them to where they want to be, right? You are being used. Yes, Ray Fisher is using you. He is using you. I like the guy. I do. I genuinely do. I like the guy. And when you listen to him talk, he sucks you in. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to live for Ray Fisher or to fight Ray Fisher's fights. When I wake up in the morning, one of the things I think about is DC and the comics and the cartoons and the TV shows and the movies. I fucking love them. I love thinking about them. This is why I've got this YouTube channel. I don't care who unsubs from me. 2 years in, over 2 years in, and I think it's pretty safe to say that my YouTube channel experiment has been a failure. But I don't care if I talk to no one, if I talk to myself. They don't call me Mad Mickey for nothing. I will keep on doing this because I'm passionate about the DCIP. And I think it's time we drew a line under this because it gets us nothing. In terms of fans and getting what we want, we've already got that. Fandom, Snyder, the multiverse strategy, everything we ever asked for, we're getting. Ray Fisher's victory doesn't benefit us personally. Now, personally, if Ray Fisher is such a great bloke, maybe he should put all this passion into helping people get tests for COVID-19 to save lives. Because I'm sorry, Ray, as bad as it was, what happened to Zach and how you were treated, it's done. It's done. I know you want blood. Personally, it's debatable whether you'll get it or not, but I think the only people you're going to hurt in the end are the people you claim to represent, the fans. So in yesterday's video, you may have noticed I promised to talk about the whole situation about Captain America Civil War and Batman vs Superman and the whole James Gunn thing, bringing Kevin Feige onto the Suicide Squad set. Now, I discussed that element. The element I discussed, of course, was the debate about Gunn inviting Feige to the set, and I gave you my opinion about that. But James Gunn did get involved with fans. To his credit, he does respond to fans and talks to them. And I think even what's his name? The director of Shazam, David F. Sandberg, loved that guy. But he came out yesterday and said that, in fact, he tells all his friends who work for different companies his plans and everything for his film. So that's interesting. Is that dumb, or is that just people talking about work? I think it's people talking about work. But these things get back, and there's dishonesty. Now, someone was speaking yesterday saying, well, there's been films like that before where they've copied each other, or by coincidence they've done the same thing or the same subject matter. Yeah, you're right. But let's focus. Let's focus here. Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, was derided by critics. It was called a terrible film that made no sense. Terrible editing. Everything that was thrown about it. It was miserable. It was depressing. It took itself too seriously. This was thrown at it. The reaction to Batman vs Superman is the core reason that what happened to Zack, and he was driven off the Justice League project initially, right? That's why that happened. Basically, it was the reaction to Batman vs Superman. Now, there's no question about it. I'm not gonna hide behind this. Jeff Johns never agreed with the appointment of Zack Snyder. He doesn't agree with his vision. He doesn't agree with the things he does. You know, because Jeff Johns, as I've explained to you before, but you people don't want to hear it, is a DC purist, and that's what drove him to cross the line. That doesn't make it right. I'm just telling you why he did it. You don't put Jeff Johns and Zack Snyder together. It's done. It is done. Anyway, let's go back to this. So the reason Zack had to walk in the end from Justice League was because of what happened with BVS and the reaction from the public and critics. So let's look at Captain America Civil War. First of all, this is a very big box office hit. Basically made over $1 billion. It made a hell of a lot more money than BVS did, and it got much better reviews. My issue with that isn't about, is Captain America Civil War a good film or not? Let me be absolutely clear with you, right? Captain America Civil War is a disjointed fucking mess. Shall I tell you why? Because one minute you've got this whole thing about this whole agreement being signed up that these heroes should be controlled, which is a great theme, right? And then we go to the whole thing that they're chasing after Bucky, because Bucky is the Winter Soldier, right? So they're going after Bucky, and then you've got the whole thing of Captain America protecting Bucky. So you've got half the Avengers signing up to the Accord, and half the Avengers fighting against the other Avengers. So that's why it's called Civil War, right? So you've got that element. And then in the end, you've got the introduction of Spider-Man. It's nuts. So it's a disjointed mess. But no one was ever called out for this. And it's got one of the worst villains of all time. Now, let's focus on the similarities between Captain America Civil War and Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, Batman vs. Superman was actually announced 1.5 years before Captain America Civil War, if I'm correct. I can't remember. Someone was trying to defend it. That's what they said to me. These two films were released at the same time, right? Batman vs. Superman was released in, was it March, was it? I can't remember now. And I think that Captain America a couple of months later. Anyway, whatever the situation, and we know that films might be announced at a time, but work could have gone into them already before the announcement. So we know that. We don't know what happens behind the scenes. So you can't base announcements as an alibi. But let's look at the two core projects. Now, I can't remember the boring, watered-down, crappy, crud, forgettable villain in Captain America Civil War, but he was doing exactly the same thing as Lex Luthor was in BVS, manipulating Captain America and Iron Man to fight. To fight. He manipulated them. He's the one who released the information about Bucky killing Tony Stark's parents, right? So there's that. There's that. He manipulates the whole thing. Although because he's a crap MCU villain, he just sits there and says, boo-hoo, you killed my family or whatever happened, right? So I did this. Oh, yeah, well. And you know, they just take him away in the end. I can't remember. Does he kill himself? I can't remember anyway. He's a crap villain, and I don't blame the actor. The actor did like as good as he did, as he could. It's really funny. They've cast this really brilliant actor to be the villain in Ant-Man 3. He's in, is it Lovecraft or whatever it is, a really good HBO Max show, right? And this is a great actor who's dumbing down his career to play a Marvel villain. It's a fucking joke. Why would you do that after basically you're just taking the money and the glory after showing the world what a great actor you are. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. So that's one similarity. We also, of course, have Captain America and Iron Man fighting each other. The very same thing we see in BVS. The difference is it's Batman versus Superman. It's obvious they're going to fight, right? This is a film, you know, inspired by The Dark Knight Returns. So they fight, right? They both fight. Personally, I prefer to fight in BVS, but then I'm biased. But anyway, they fight. And the similarities go on. And then we have the explosion in the Senate building in BVS. And we also have a big explosion at some kind of UN council and where Black Panther's father is also killed, of course. Again, there's another similarity. And then we have the whole thing at the beginning of the film, where is it Scarlet Witch creates an explosion or something by mistake. And, of course, we have the whole Africa incident in BVS where they blame Superman for incinerating those people, even though he was stitched up. Again, so basically, these two films are exactly the same thing. Now, there was a very interesting statement quite a few years ago from Kevin Feige himself, who said, I was happy going through this happy comedic route, but I was very intimidated. He didn't say these exact words, but pretty much. He said, I was concerned when I heard they were doing Batman versus Superman, And I felt if we didn't do something similar, we were going to start losing the audience. So he was worried about BVS, right? Now, if he's that worried about it, how far would he have gone to destabilize that film? That's interesting. But then, so we've seen this, we looked at the similarities. These films are pretty much like for like, right? Introduction of Spider-Man, introduction of Wonder Woman. Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you see the picture here? It's there. They're exactly the same films. This isn't a happy accident. This isn't a coincidence. Now, while critics said that Captain America Civil War was the best thing ever and better than BVS, they said that BVS was a bunch of crap, right? Even though they're pretty much exactly the same fucking films, right? So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Something happened, right? Something happened. What happened here? And it goes to the link of the destabilization behind the scenes of BVS. The fact that they took Zack's vision away, even in BVS, and put out a crappy theatrical version that made no sense. Even though I love the theatrical version and we still enjoyed it, there was elements that were missing, and you could tell they were missing, right? And you were thinking, well, what happened here? You know, that kind of thing. They cut things out. But when Zack did the Ultimate Edition, what a beautiful fucking movie. I mean, the theatrical version is a beautiful movie cut to pieces by somebody else. But the Ultimate Edition is perfection, right? It's a brilliant film. If you want complex, dark stories for superheroes, right? And I think Zack Snyder said something very interesting. They did this whole kind of documentary on Warner Brothers YouTube yesterday about the Dark Knight trilogy, and Zack Snyder was there talking, saying, you know, a lot of people just want to see the easy crash bam superhero, and it's sometimes you wonder if people appreciate this kind of stuff that Chris did. Interesting words, seeing what happened to him, because he knows. He knows what happened to Zack Snyder. You know, the conversation, because we're focusing on Ray Fisher and Jeff Johns, has gone away from Zack Snyder. He was the one who was damaged by all of this. And you know why they damaged him and damaged what he was doing? Because he dared to be different. He dared to be Marmite. That's the point I've always been making. But he's back. We won and he won. That's why the Ray Fisher stuff is pointless, futile, because Zack's back. But hey, we'll see what happens with the Ray Fisher stuff. So basically my point about the similarities of Civil War and Batman vs. Superman is something no good happened. Something very bad, very naughty was going on. And the fans can see it. And people like David F. Sandberg's interesting because he actually turned around and said, yeah, we do discuss each other's projects. That's interesting. But, as I said to David, and sometimes David does reply to me, he didn't this time, I said, so that means that Zack Snyder must have been discussing his project with Kevin Feige. No, Kevin Feige and Zack Snyder are not mates, right? We know the people who knew what was going on with BVS. Something untoward happened because there were forces behind the scenes, whether you think it's Jeff Johns allegedly or somebody else, that were trying to destabilise what Zack was doing. But you know what? As shitty and as horrible as all that is, we need to draw a line underneath it. You know why? Because Zack's back. Now, I understand why some fans are really upset, because we got Jeff Johns working with Patty Jenkins on Wonder Woman 84 and beyond, by the way, unless something changes if Warner Media kick him out, which I doubt they will. And then you've got James Gunn from Disney, from Guardians of the Galaxy, working at DC now. We've just heard that Taika Waititi is doing a film for HBO Max. This is interesting. And you know my theory, and if you haven't heard it, I believe after Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I believe Feige is coming to become the president of DC Studios, a newly formed DC Studios. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Taika Waititi is even going to be in the Suicide Squad. He's going to cameo in the film as well. So we're getting a lot of MCU people involved in DC projects. And this is why people are angry. And I understand your anger, I do. But at the end of the day, we fought a big organisation and we got Zack back. Now there's going to have to be a restructuring of what's going on at WB Pictures. I said it yesterday. Warner Media need to take control of that whole studio and put their own people in. And we've already seen that Ann Sarnoff has more and more control of the company in terms of Warner Media. They're trying to gain control of Warner Brothers Pictures. It's not as easy as you think it is, unless you understand the structures of big companies like I do. But they're trying, and they're getting a stranglehold. But no company in their right mind is going to grab hold of Jeff Johns and put him in front of the people so you can chuck tomatoes and drag him through the streets, right? Wow, this has been a long video. I want to know what you think. There's a lot of difficult issues being discussed within the DC Cinematic Universe and TV shows right now. But it's important we keep our focus in what we want, because we've got what we want. Walter Hamada is a good man, and Ray Fisher exposing private conversations makes him look like the opposite. Walter Hamada said that Joss Whedon is a shitty human. Joss Whedon is a shitty human. You didn't really expose anything apart from the world knowing, Ray, that you can't be trusted to keep stuff to yourself. This video isn't going to be very popular with you, but I don't care. I have to have a place where I can speak my mind. That's my Twitter, that's my YouTube, that's my Instagram. Places where I can pretty much say what I want. If people don't like that, if people want me to agree with them all the time or spew their agendas and ideologies, then you're going to have to go elsewhere. Your opinions are always respected and always liked. So let me have it. Let me know what you think politely and constructively, and I'll like and love them. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DC Multiverse Daily. See you again soon.